Let us calculate relative change with percentages. Isn't that a beautiful percent sign? I'm very proud of that. Well, first, let's talk about relative change. What is it? Well, you're going to notice that relative change is the absolute value of the final value minus the initial value, the absolute value of that, all over the initial value. Now, if you've watched previous videos, you know that that numerator, the absolute value of final value minus initial value, is really the absolute change. So the absolute change over the initial value is relative change. We use relative change to compare quantities, and it's helpful in decision making. Now, before I get to an example, I do want to say that generally we take the relative change and we multiply by 100, turn this into a percent, so that we can talk about percent change. Okay, here we go. The interest rate on a savings account in 2000 was 2.2%. On the same savings account in 2022, the interest rate was 0.4%. What is the relative change from 2000 to 2022 on this savings account? Okay, so first things first, in 2000 it was 2.2, so that's the initial value. In 2022, it was 0.4, so that's the final value. All right, to find the relative change. So relative change is final value minus initial value all over the initial value. So let's plug in what we know. Absolute value of 0.4 minus 2.2 all over 2.2. Okay, so we simplify in the numerator. That gives us absolute value of negative 1.8 over 2.2. Now the absolute value just makes it positive, right? Absolute value is distance. So if we do this and divide to change this a decimal, we will get 0.818181. It goes on and on and on. The 81 is repeating. But again, we talk about changing this to a percent. So if I would take my relative change and multiply by 100, that gives me 81.818181, on and on and on and on, percent. So let's change this, or round this to the nearest tenth of a percent. So if I'm going to the nearest tenth, I look at the place past that. 1 tells me to round down. So I end up with an answer of 81.8%. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means the interest rate on this savings account decreased 81.8% from 2000 to 2022. That word decreased is very important. We know that it went down, right? From 2000, over those 22 years, it decreased. So we use that as part of our sentence to say, what does it mean? It's always important when you are talking about change that you can write it in a sentence to show that you understand the context of that 81.8%. So in this case, the interest rate on this savings account decreased 81.8% from 2000 to 2022.